So you're starting this session laying on your back. You've got your legs bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. Arms are just going to be relaxed beside you. If you feel like you need a little bit of support for the neck, you could have your head slightly raised. A little cushion or a rolled up towel might be suitable just for you to rest your head on. And that's just for comfort. So how does that feel for you? I'm starting with my legs and my feet together so that they're touching. I can feel my ankle bones, I can feel my inner knees. I know that they're definitely next to each other. And then from there I'm going to turn my toes apart, space between the toes but keep the heels together for a moment. And then I'm just going to swivel on the balls of the feet and bring the heels into line with that toe position. So I now know that whilst my legs are apart, my feet are apart, my knees are apart, they're definitely in line with each other. I've also got space between my knees. Notice whether that's naturally happened for you or whether you have to consciously think about them being away from each other. And I've also got some connection in with the front of the pelvis. So this front of pelvis width is the same width as the knees and the same width as the feet. Notice how that feels for your legs to be in that position. Notice how it feels in the back of the body to be resting down into the floor. And we're going to start with some breath. We inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. So breathing in when you feel ready to, and breathing out at your own pace. When you breathe in through the nose, you're really going to think about inflating into the back of the ribs. And as you breathe out through the mouth, you're really looking at deflating the front rib cage. Breathing in, back ribs. Feel that they expand against the mat. And breathing out, front ribs. And just notice how they deflate. I just feel like they're settling back down towards you. Now, as well as breathing into the back ribs as you inhale through your nose, you can also think about the side ribs expanding. And as you breathe out through your mouth, you've still got that settling. You'll feel that the side ribs draw towards you and you've got that settling through the front of the body as well. A couple more of these, or however many you feel you need to do repetition-wise to get a good, well-established breath pattern. When you've done your next exhale, you're going to start to add some movement to that breath pattern. So you'll still breathe in to the back of the body. As you breathe out and the ribs relaxed, you're going to stand down into one foot and float one knee. When you breathe in next, and it's a bit like patting your head and rubbing your tummy, you're going to pop the foot back down again. So each time you breathe out, torso relaxes, foot drops down, one leg floats up. And each time you breathe in, you're going to put that leg back down again. So notice how, whilst the movement is simple, it's quite challenging initially just to organise your breath and your movement. But with repetition, it's going to begin to improve. Know that every time you breathe out, you're going to be floating one leg upwards, leg stays bent there. And every time you breathe in, you bring the leg back down towards the floor. If you've done a similar sequence before, you can think about the organisation of your torso, the stillness, the quietness, so that as you're lifting and lowering the leg, you're really mindful of nothing moving. I don't want you to feel suddenly braced, but as you exhale, it's just going to give you something else to think about if you're good with the coordination of breath and movement. That you're going to look really hard at keeping some quietness through the torso and through the pelvis. When you bring this leg back down next, and you're always looking to do an even number, so finishing with the leg opposite to the one you started with, you're going to continue with your breath pattern, breathing into the back of the body, in through your nose, and breathing out and allowing the front ribs to relax. With that exhale and inhale, you're going to start to add some arm movement. So you'll breathe in and you'll take the arms upwards and backwards, and you'll breathe out and you'll bring the arms all the way back down beside you. Now it feels slightly easier so far as the coordination of breath and movement, because both arms are going to stay doing the same thing. So you can really think about inhaling into the back of the body as the arms come up and back, and that's at your own pace. And breathing out as you return the arms all the way back down towards the floor next time. Breathing into the back of yourself, still inflating wide as well. And breathing out to return the arms. Again, if you've done the movement quite a lot already, could you outwardly rotate the upper arms as the arms come up? Can you be aware of allowing the shoulder blades to move? That outward rotation of the upper arm would mean that your palms are facing in towards each other. So breathing in and breathing out. And you might experience during the session that that movement's too large for you to shoulder-wise. So you could be just taking it to where it's comfortable to go each time, maybe just up to the ceiling and bringing the arms all the way back down again. Once we've finished that movement, we're going to come into some tilts of the pelvis. What I'd like you to think about here is just a rocking movement where you gently rock the pelvis towards and away from the ribs. I'm just going to move my front arm out of the way, just so you can see the movement if you're not really sure what I mean by rocking the pelvis forward and back. Notice how you fill up some space between your lower back and the floor, gently, and then you create some space between the lower back and the floor. So as you breathe out, could you add that rock of the pelvis towards the ribs? And as you breathe in, could you rock the pelvis away from you? So you're exhaling, you're noticing how the front ribs settle as you tilt the pelvis towards the rib cage. And as you inhale, you're inflating, rocking that pelvis away. As you inflate, you also lighten up your lower back position towards the mat. Notice how it feels for you. It's a great movement for just loosening up through the lower back. So if you know you're tight there, or if you know you're a little bit tight through the front of the hips, you can do as many of these as you need to. You're looking at pausing somewhere roughly in the middle of those two tilts. So I'm going to pause the body, I'm going to pause the rocking movement when I feel like I'm neither fully tilted in either direction, I'm just somewhere in the middle. And when I'm somewhere in the middle, I'm going to change the rocking movement of the pelvis to more of a side-to-side rock. For this one, if you're not sure once you've tried to move the pelvis side to side, what I find helps is if you just rest the palms of the hands on the two front hip bones. And what you'll feel is that one hand drops down low, one hand lifts up, and one hand drops down and low, and the other hand lifts up. What I see most when people start to learn this for the first time is that to make the movement feel bigger, the knees get a little bit involved. So if you're swaying your knees side to side, try and keep them a little stiller. Know that the movement of the tilt of the pelvis side to side is going to be small. And just really focus on one hip bone lifting up into the palm of one hand and the other hip bone dropping down. It's a bit seesaw-like across the front of the hips. Now, in a real similar way to how you did with your forward and back tilt, rocking forward and back, I want you to think about settling the pelvis once more, somewhere in the middle of these two ranges of movement, whereby you haven't got one hip higher than the other, nothing feels like it's sinking down in towards the floor, neither side feels like it's lifting up in towards your hand. And then when you're there, if you have been supported by a head cushion, you're just going to take the head cushion away. You're going to bring your arms down beside you on the floor. And this is going to be your start and finish position of bridging. As you breathe out, I'd like you to very slightly begin to tilt the pelvis back towards the ribs. It's quite small, not your full range. Stand down into your feet as if you're standing upright. So really use the legs and continue to peel the spine away from the floor. Up at the top of each bridge, you want to feel like you still definitely got your shoulder blades on the floor. You're super open through the front of the hips and you're really using the back of the legs and the back of the pelvis to support the movement. As you breathe out next, you're going to bring the body all the way back down towards the mat. You're going to be as controlled and careful as you can, knowing that you're trying to keep that levelness of the front of the pelvis, knowing that as the pelvis arrives back on the mat, you're going to try and come back to that finished position, which then becomes your start position for your next bridge. As you breathe out, just very slightly begin to tilt the pelvis towards the rib cage. Stand down into your feet and you'll feel the backs of the legs get ready for that. If you really feel the hamstrings clinging on and they're tight, you could move a little bit quicker. But it is a normal reaction to suddenly feel the backs of the legs. Take a breath in up at the top of your bridge each time. And again, you could move much quicker if you wanted to. As you breathe out, you're just going to allow the back of the body to relax, heading down towards the floor. This last little moment isn't a huge pelvic tilt, but you can try and think about coming down from top to bottom. You'll do a couple more of these, breathing out. Mini tilt to start off with. Stand down into the feet and begin to peel the pelvis away from the floor. Just notice when you're up there, that standing down into the feet that you started with. Can you still feel all the 10 toes on the floor? Breath in up at the top and breath out to bring yourself all the way back down again. Now you could pause here if you wanted to, or you could take one last bridge as you breathe out. Mini tilt. It's not going to be huge. You'll stand down into the feet, all toes sinking down into the ground. Just notice whether you're still in your narrow knee position, feet are still in the same place, hip bones are still in the same place. You're nice and level across the front of your hips, and as you breathe out, you'll bring yourself all the way back down again. The start and finish position still applies, so imagine that you're right in the center of the dial of the pelvis once more, and then you're going to interlace your fingers and take them behind your head. We're going to come into chest lift first. I do this with interlaced fingers, but if you wanted to, you could take the hands away from each other. Elbows are narrow for me as well. As you breathe out, just imagine you're gently picking up the back of the head. Now from there on in, you want to feel that the back of the head is dropping into the cupped hands. You continue to breathe out, allow the ribs to roll in towards you, and then as you breathe in, you lay yourself back down again. Exhaling, imagine that picking up of the back of the head, the upper spine gets long as you curl yourself up, and then you'll inhale to lay yourself back down again. I'm going to do a few more of these. That's an exhale to bring you up, and an inhale to lay yourself back. You're not going to worry too much about the pelvis, but as we progress, you're looking at trying to keep that same organisation of pelvis where possible, and inhale to lay yourself all the way back down. From here, we're going to come into rotation, and for rotation, I'm going to grab a slightly thicker cushion. You can do the same, or you could have a block or something at the ready. I'm going to face you first. I'm going to lay on my side and have both arms out in front, straight arms. The soles of the feet are in line with the back of me, as if the floor is behind me and I can feel those parts on the mat. I'm going to take a breath in here, and as I breathe out, I'm just going to open the left arm to the ceiling. I'm going to look at it as I go, take a breath in, and as I breathe out, I'm going to bring the arm back to a closed position. Inhale to prepare. Exhale. The left arm, for me, opens to the ceiling. You're going to breathe in through the nose when you're there, and you'll breathe out to come back. Now, initially, this is just to get you used to following the palm of the hand with your gaze. Take a breath in and then breath out to close. We're going to open, exhaling. Inhale when we're here. And this will be the last one. Exhaling to close. From here, you're going to bring yourself round onto the other side to do the same thing. Head is going to be on the front of the cushion, so you might need to move it back as you move. Arms are straight out in front of you. There is space here, so that shoulder's right underneath you and your legs are bent. Soles of the feet are in line with the back of your body. As you breathe out, you're going to open the arm up towards the ceiling. Follow it with the hands. Follow it with the gaze. And then as you breathe out, bring the arm back down again. Exhale to open. Inhale when you're up. And then exhale to close. Keep looking at the hands. Breathing in to prepare each time. This is going to be the last one. Exhale to open. Inhale when you're open. And then exhale to come all the way back down again. From here, when you're down, you're going to bring yourself up to sit. You're going to sit as tall as you can. You might want to prop up through the sit bones. You could be sitting on a block or sitting on something higher. You can even bring this up to sitting on a chair if it feels more comfortable through the lower back. It is quite a lot of effort to be tall in this position. And you can get quite grippy at the front of the hips. So just pay attention to how it feels and make a different choice for yourself if you need to. You're going to hold on to the backs of the legs, and actually we're going to start with just tilting. So you're going to breathe out, the feet go down and forward, and you start to tilt the pelvis towards the ribs. Now we've already done this on the floor. And when you breathe in, you're going to bring yourself back up, sitting as tall as you can on both your sit bones and your crown of your head to the ceiling. Exhale, feet go down and forward. Mini tilt. We've done this laying on our backs. Inhale, rocking the pelvis back away from you. Exhaling, feet go down and forwards. Inhaling to return. You're still in this narrow parallel. You're going to think about the big toes really firing forwards and away from you. And definitely the movement is happening all down the lower end of your spine. Breathing out, tilting, tailbone feeling like it's coming forward and then in between the legs, just as it did when you were laying on your back. Now from here, you're going to take the movement slightly larger and bringing yourself all the way down towards the floor. The assisted roll-up, as this is, starts in the same way, but you keep on moving. This is a firm grip on the backs of the thighs. You'll draw your feet towards you when you feel like you absolutely have to have them with you, and you'll bring yourself onto your back. You'll take a breath in when you're back here, and as you breathe out, the backs of the legs go forwards, the chin nods to the chest, and you roll yourself all the way back up again. As you breathe out, just think of it being the tilt. All of the action is as low down in the body as possible. And of course it spreads up. You've got this big C curve occurring. Leave your feet on the mat as long as you possibly can. You'll then drag the balls of the feet towards you as you bring yourself back onto your back. You'll take a breath in. What's important is that connection of leg to hand. So the legs go forwards. This is a chest lift. You've already been there, already completed that curling up. Feet are going to keep going down. And that'll bring you all the way back up again. We'll do 2 more. Exhaling. The breath would really help. So you're going to use it to flex on your way down. You're going to inhale when you're on your back. And then you're going to use it to flex again, to bend your spine, round your spine, to bring yourself all the way back up again. Last one, exhaling, feet going down and forwards. To tilt, to draw your feet towards you when you need them, staying in that tilt as much as you possibly can. And then the last one to take you all the way back up again. We're going to come into spine stretch from here. Spine stretch again could involve you being seated up high on a block. You're going to have your arms out in front of you. Some little adaptations you could make. You could have your feet on the floor. You could even have your toes lifted if that were more comfortable. As you breathe out here, you're going to nod your chin to your chest and start to round the body in the same way you just did from the mat. Could you keep your arms lifted there? And then inhale to bring yourself all the way back up. So the movement looks like I'm trying to touch my toes, but actually, as you breathe out and nod your chin to your chest, I'm trying to stay flexed. I'm trying to stay rounded in the upper spine. Inhale to bring yourself all the way back up again. That rounded shape you create is always helped along its way by breathing out. So you can think about that throughout the class work. Whenever I'm trying to round my body, I'm going to breathe out, inhale to come back. This will be your last one, exhaling, nodding your chin to your chest, rounding your body, reaching your fingers forward, and then inhaling to lay yourself all the way back down again. From here, I'm just going to do a prep for 100 with you. Lay yourself back down, back into your narrow parallel. You could do your toes apart and your heels into line. And I'm going to take your arms up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in here, and as you breathe out, you're going to start to nod your chin to your chest so you're looking between the legs, and lower the arms down. And then inhale to lay yourself back down again. Exhaling, nod your chin to your chest. You're looking straight between the legs, arms are pushing downwards. And then inhale, you're going to lay yourself back down again. You're going to curl up this next time and stay up. And then whilst you're up there, you're just going to begin to pump the arms down towards the floor. It's quite a small pump of the arm. Notice how it feels for you. You're going to breathe in freely and breathe out freely. We're just going to do 10 more. And then you're going to lay yourself back down and rest your arms down beside you. Knees and feet are going to come in together, arms are slightly wider than your mat. And we're going to do some more rotation, but this time a little lower down through the spine. So sway your legs over to one side and then bring them back up towards the ceiling. Swaying over as you breathe out, coming back to the ceiling as you breathe in. Swaying over as you breathe out, coming back up towards the ceiling as you breathe in. The last one is going to be in the opposite direction to how you started. Always looking to do an even number. And then if you sway the legs to the side next, that's going to bring you back onto your side. This time you don't need to have anything supporting the head and neck if you don't want to. You could have something, again, depending on how it feels comfort-wise. Your legs are bent. Just going to come into some side lying. So you're on your side. Hand is just going to come onto your hip so it's out of the way. If you feel like it's a little bit wobbly when you get here, absolutely you could put your fingertips down on the floor. You part the feet so that you lift the leg, and then you're going to swing your leg forward, trying to keep long in the waist, and swing the leg back again. Inhale to swing forward, and exhale to swoop back. How still can your torso be as you're swinging forward and back? And if it's super wobbly, then pop your fingers down on the floor and see if you can maintain that same narrow parallel of the legs throughout. Exhale to come back. And this will be your last one, inhaling and exhaling. Do the same thing on the other side, so you can rest that leg down and roll yourself over. Knees bent. Hand is on the crest of the hip, and you can see this from the back view. I'm going to use the hands to create some length down the right side. Notice how I appear a little bit lighter on the mat on the left side as well. Feet move away from each other, top leg lifts, and then inhale, I'm trying to stay long through the right side, and exhale to take that right leg back. Breath in and breath out. Breath in and breath out. Inhaling and exhaling. Last one, breath in to swing forward and breath out to swoop back. Rest the leg down and then come to lay on your front. You're going to lay on your front with your hands beside the ribs and the forehead resting down on the floor. You're reaching your big toes away from your head. And then what you're going to do is start to lengthen through the upper spine, allowing the forehead to leave the floor. Think about being wide through the chest, and then bring yourself all the way back down again. Breath pattern wise, if you inhale as you lengthen, those movements of extension through the spine and inhale match perfectly. Exhale to bring yourself all the way back down again. Think about the middle of the shoulder blades, finding some space and length, back of the neck, back of head, forehead hovers, gaze lifts, widen through the collarbones, and then exhale to return. The whole time the elbows are in tight, quite narrow, upper arms are rotated outwards, in a similar way to how they were when you were doing your arm arcs. Last one. And breath in. And breath out. From here, you're going to rest your head on your hands and just have your elbows down on the floor. We're going to do single leg extension. So you'll reach one leg long. Again, big toe, reaching away from the head and resting back down again. Alternating your legs and resting back down again. So you could breathe in as you lengthen again and breathe out as you rest back down again. How's your pelvis doing? What do you feel through the front of the pelvis as the leg lengthens and lifts? Could it feel pretty much the same as it does when the legs are down? That you reach long and you're level through the front of the hips. You certainly feel that there's not too much twisting and turning happening. Good. reaching, and an even number again to rest yourself back down again. Last move laying down is going to be your dart. If you rest your forehead down on the floor here, it's very similar to your swan with your hands on the floor, but without arms to help. Same approach, lengthen, hover, widen, and the hands could come away from the floor. Exhale to bring yourself all the way back down again. You lengthen, hover, widen, and you exhale to bring yourself all the way back down towards the mat. And do 2 more. Breath in to lengthen from between the shoulder blades. Hover, back of the head, wide through the collarbones, and exhale to come back down again. Last one, breathing in. And breathing out. From here you're going to come into a child's pose. So that's a rounded spine position. And you could choose to be on your knees here, or you could choose to be on your back with your knees into your chest, depending on how this feels. Knees together, body relaxed. A feeling of pelvis as heavy towards the feet as you can manage, but also a feeling of being round again. You're back into that flexed position. How round can you be through your spine? From here you're going to come up into a hands and knees position. So you're coming into all fours, noticing how that feels for you, neck long. And we're just going to try a little bit of diagonal work in your hands and knees position. So when you breathe out, what I'd like you to think about is the right hand and the left knee getting a little heavier. And then push down into the floor. And then as you inhale, you'll relax off. As you exhale, next time the left hand and the right knee push down into the floor. And as you inhale, you relax off. So this is much more about sensation. Breathing out, could you give the ground more of your hand and your knee? Inhale, be light. There's no big swaying side to side. Notice what you feel across the front and back of the body maybe. Exhale for your down. Inhale for your up. And last one, exhale. And inhale. Now, you can push down into the floor here with a diagonal. It doesn't matter which one you choose. But notice when you're there that one knee is much lighter. It feels much lighter whilst the other one is pushing down into the floor. And with that light knee, could you begin to straighten that leg without disrupting anything organisationally through the rest of the body? You're going to curl the toe under. Leg is super straight. Same thing again now, but could you push down into the floor with your toe and your 2 hands and slide the other leg out to join. Now you don't have to stay here for very long, just lengthen. Think about using your legs as much as your upper body, and then carefully draw one knee back underneath you, followed by the other knee again, trying to be as tabletop-like as you can with your spine. From here, you're going to bring yourself up to stand. I'm just going to do it in the safest, easiest way possible. 1 foot, 1 foot. And then we're going to roll down to finish. So you're standing tall, arms are relaxed beside you. We'll do this in 3 stages, and then you can check out depending on how it feels for you. So as you breathe out initially, you're going to nod your chin to your chest. You're rounding your upper body. You're also thinking about space between the shoulder blades. You'll take a breath in just here, dangling loose with the hands. And as you breathe out, bring yourself all the way back up to standing tall. Exhaling, nod your chin to your chest. rounding. Let go of the arms. I want to be away from your body. Widen through the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale next, you'll start your journey back up again. I'm going to go a little bit lower for these next two. So as you exhale, nod your chin to your chest. Rounding your upper body, rounding through the rib cage. So front ribs coming in, back ribs coming back. I say this is sort of maybe halfway down now. Notice how it feels for you. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, think about lifting from the front of the body up to the ceiling to bring you all the way back up again. Same again at that level. Exhale, nod your chin to your chest. Let go of the arms. They're dangly. They shouldn't be touching your body at this stage. You're going to try to support yourself without that hand and arm connection. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out again, lifting front body into back body to support you, coming all the way up. A little bit further down, exhale just for these last two. So nodding your chin to your chest. Space for the spine so the blades move away from each other. Ribs are rolling in, back ribs are rounding. You're as round as you can be through the whole upper and middle spine. Now keep on coming depending on how it feels for you as you come down here into a lower position. If you feel it in your hamstrings, soften your knees so that you can keep rounding through the spine. You'll take a breath in just as you've done in the previous four, and as you breathe out, you'll start to straighten your knees when that feels comfortable enough to do so. You keep lifting up through the front of the body, nice and dangly with the arms to bring yourself all the way back up. This will be your last one. As you exhale, nod your chin to your chest. Upper body softens. Heavy hands. Wide shoulder blades. Keep drawing the front ribs in. Back ribs will turn and spread. Heavy head, the lower you get, let it go. So that certainly by the time you get to the bottom of the roll down, you're looking more at your own legs directly than the floor. You could soften your knees if you need to. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, same idea. Lifting the front of the body in towards the back of the body. That will all happen on that breath out. Leave your arms behind. Heavy head to bring yourself all the way back up again. And that's it. Take care, everyone.